A young woman in her garden being tricked by a shapeshifter, leading to the downfall of her people. I'm not talking about the Old Testament, this is still Norse mythology. Let's talk about the Garden of Eden. Let's go. Hello everyone, my name is Josie and I am a Swedish illustrator based in Sweden and I'm currently working on a personal project inspired by Norse mythology. And for those of you who've been here a while, you know that in the process of doing the research, I've been sharing some stories that I've come across, things that I find interesting and some questions that pop up that I then decide to answer for myself. And then I have no one to share it with. I think this is the fourth video, my second specifically about one of the Sinja, which is the female gods in Asgård, the realm of the gods in this mythology. And today I'm going to talk about Idun. Who was she? I think maybe Scandinavians and maybe even other Europeans might be vaguely aware of that she has something to do with beauty and youth, specifically because there's a very big and popular Swedish cosmetics brand, at least I think they're Swedish, I'm going to call them Scandinavian now because I'm actually unsure where they're based. I think they're Swedish. So yeah, that brand is named after her, but I don't actually know how well known Idun is outside of Scandinavia. So if you have heard of this goddess before, then let me know. So Idun was a beautiful and youthful goddess of fertility and eternal life. In one of the stories, Loke, in a rant that can only be described as drunk uncle-esque, he describes Idun as the man craziest of all women, pointing to the fact that, according to him, and a lot of the stories, she has taken pretty much everyone and their brother as a lover at one point or another. But we're not here to shame. She's married to Brage, the god of skald or skaldekonst, which translates to storytelling and poetry. Aside from the beauty and fertility, she is best known as the keeper of the apples of youth that grows only in Asgård. So she tends this garden with these very specific apples of youth, but more importantly, she keeps them in a box in some cases, and sometimes it's a basket. It's these apples that give the gods their immortality. Pretty important, I would say. Definitely doesn't need more safeguards or anything like that in place at all. The kidnapping of Idun. Until, of course, the giant Schatze decides that this is really unfair. So Schatze, this giant, pressures Loke, who, as we know, is Jotun, a giant himself. Loke promises to help with this injustice. So Loke goes to Idun and he says, hey, I've seen some other apples of eternal life in this other place. You should go check it out. And of course, Idun, being curious, decides to go and check it out and is taken captive by Schatze. So, in Idun's absence, the gods in Asgård slowly begin to deteriorate. Their health wanes, they begin to turn grey, and they slowly start to lose their strength. And yeah, everyone knows that Loke is probably behind this. At this point, he's the well-known troublemaker. So they manage to capture Loke and torture him into spilling the beans, torture him into telling the truth. He, of course, is tasked with bringing Idun back, since the others have lost their strength. Loke gets to borrow the goddess Freya's falcon guise. She's usually able to shapeshift into a falcon, but is currently too weak. So she lends it to Loke. Loke, in the shape of a falcon, flies into Jotunheim to Schatz's home. And luckily Schatze and some of the other giants are off fishing, so they're not a problem. Loke finds Idun by herself, locked in Schatz's home. So he turns her into a small nut so that he's able to grab it in his talons and fly out of there, and is able to save Idun. Once Idun is back, the Asgardians regain their full strength and health again. This sort of implies that it isn't just the apples, it is Idun's tending to them. It's Idun's powers that provide the gods with eternal life. Idun is often portrayed as a kind of stereotypical Scandinavian, fair with long golden hair, very feminine, and the sort of Western idea of beautiful. And of course, she's portrayed as young, or at the very least, youthful, however you interpret that. And there's this painting of her with her husband Brage by Nils Jakob Blomér. Brage is playing a harp-like instrument, and she is standing next to him holding a gilded box of golden apples. I like it because at first glance, and I guess by some standards, they are both kind of simply dressed. There are little gold details in her skirt that has a beautiful subtle glint, and she has this diadem with a veil. It just feels very romantic, like of its time. It was painted in the late 1840s, I think. So like the aesthetic era, not romance novel romantic. As I mentioned, Idun has a box, or sometimes a basket, where she keeps the apples. But no matter the shape of the container, it is mentioned certainly as being of ash wood. And this isn't a coincidence. The ash tree is a very powerful tree in this mythology, and the famous world tree, Yggdrasil, which connects the 9 realms, is also an ash tree. And it doesn't matter how many apples Idun takes out of the box or the basket, they are always replenished. But now, let's talk apples. Because although today we've sort of come to accept that the fruit in these stories or in this mythology, the fruit that she keeps in this garden are this kind of fruit. This very specific, typical kind of fruit that grows on trees and is great in a pie with cinnamon and sugar. However, there's like a little asterisk here. The old Scandinavian word or old Nordic word eple could just simply mean fruit. Usually fruit that grows on a bush. So more kind of berries and nuts. And then the word has grown and evolved. So it's more commonly come to be known as this specific fruit. Though it's worth noting that back in the day, 1,000 years ago, it could easily have meant a kind of nut or berry. It might even have been more likely. But yeah, so the story as we know it was recorded in the 13th century by Snorre Sturlason. And it is entirely possible that the Icelandic people at this time had come to be influenced by Greek mythology. There's the Hesperides, a kind of nymph in Greek mythology that also tended a garden of golden apples. Also, as the 13th century, Snorre Sturlason's time, was the last century of what is commonly viewed as the Viking era, it is entirely possible that Snorre's version of the tale has been influenced by stories found in the Old Testament. Just like with Hel and the idea of Helheim being a place for evil people may have been influenced by Christianity. Idun and Eden. They sound pretty similar. So I know you're probably wondering about the name, Idun. It means ever young or rejuvenator, ever youthful, like bringer of youth. And in contrast, the biblical Garden of Eden, which is spelled differently, it belongs to a completely different language altogether. Possibly Sumerian, meaning steppe or plain, as in the terrain variety, or potentially Aramaic, meaning the light. So Eden and Eden, yeah, they have nothing in common. There is no relation aside from like some surface level similarities. For my illustration, this time I decided to keep it simple. It is the middle of summer, in case you hadn't noticed. So yeah, for my own enjoyment, I decided to pull it back a little bit. And yeah, my favorite thing about Eden is the lore around this box. I prefer it to be a gilded box rather than a basket, even though I get that it's like a relatable thing that she's carrying a basket. You know, if you're thinking about this from the everyday woman hearing these stories and telling them to her children. But yeah, aside from this magic box and this specific function of this goddess, there's not a lot more that I felt that I could add to in my interpretation. And you know, if you've been here a while and you've seen some of my process and my art previously, then you will know that I like to add nuance and sometimes portray the sort of less expected sides of a character. And yeah, in this case, I guess I just felt like there was less in this case to work with. You know, you can only push beauty and youthfulness so far. It's sort of difficult to subvert the expectation there. And yeah, I guess I also really just like dramatic color combinations, and I really like drawing monsters. So yeah, for those of you who've been subscribers on my channel for a while, this has become kind of an intense diversion, but I do intend on talking more about folklore, Scandinavian, mostly Swedish folklore, and on top of that I also have another artist routine that I'm excited to try out, but that is coming a little bit later. Yeah, I'm going on summer holiday next week. So the next video might take a little bit longer, although I also have more time. We'll see. I hope you take care of yourself. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. I hope you're enjoying summer wherever you are. And yeah, I hope to see you back here soon. Take care.